right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Three Boys on the Porch. It is your boy Ozzy.
And Matt,
And Cam,
All right, and this week we've got a rather interesting lineup, I would say. But I think Cam's going to get us started with another fantastic joke of his.
another banger.
well, this one's not really a joke. It's more of some bad advice that I was given the other day. Uh, Before I left some store that I was in, some old guy, he reminded me the difference between a lobster with breasts and a downtown bus stop.
I'm curious.
One is a busty crustacean and the other is a crusty bus station.
Oh,
my!
I mean, you're not wrong. Those are correct assumptions to make.
Shout out Harold one time for the bad but also blessed advice that I was given the other day.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's get started with that behind us.
I forget that who actually decided or who brought up the idea of going on this trip, but it was a trip that we went on not too long ago to visit some would say the heart of the South in Tennessee, specifically Memphis and Nashville. We wanted to hit up a few stops that we had in mind. We wanted to drive up there and visit the Parthenon because all three of us are a bit of history buffs in a way. And then we wanted to visit the Grand Ole Opry and the grave of Johnny Cash because those are apparently two prerequisite things, according to one David Allen Coe, that you have to do in order to be considered country. We couldn't actually meet Johnny Cash in the flesh because he's a little bit dead. But
Yeah, we did the next best thing.
Yep, the only thing that we could do, some would say.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Bass Pro.
Absolutely, the Guy landmark in the U.S., the place that every male needs to visit before they die.
Giant glass pyramid Bass Pro Shop.
Seventh largest pyramid in the world,
Something like
Yep.
that.
just to flex on everybody else.
It's kind of crazy, like, after going in there, how, like, you see online, it used to be, like, a basketball arena, and it's,
Yeah,
like, hard to imagine it being that.
Especially with the
Yeah.
way that it looks now.
But yeah, as we were driving in to Memphis, we were actually staying across the Mississippi in West Memphis, but there was this thing that we noticed as soon as we came into both West Memphis and Memphis.
It was what could only be described as a
stank even.
Yeah, the West Memphis or Memphis stank is definitely something we experience. Apparently, we're not the only ones either.
not really surprisingly, but also it's a documented occurrence that a lot of people experience, and we didn't just happen upon the one hotel in West Memphis that had some kind of putrid odor about it. Apparently, it is the whole area of Memphis/West Memphis.
I took to Reddit to find answers and just people complaining about it. No actual answers for it.
Yeah, it seems that in the area they do some sort of like dredging or mining. Some say for sulfur, but it didn't quite smell like sulfur, to be honest.
No,
I'd say it smelled like a homeless person that just hadn't, bathed in a few years.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
a mix of all sorts of nasty, putrid smells.
I don't know if I quite believe the mining operation story. I think that's a farce.
I mean,
That's definitely a cover up.
I think it. Yeah, I think you're right because I don't know why they would be mining sulfur like right outside city limits. But yeah, we pulled up there. Of course, we went to check in and couldn't just check in because
No,
it's,
no.
it's West Memphis, so we had to
No.
wait an hour or two before we could actually check in.
Yeah, we killed some time at the Bass Pro Shop pyramid. It lived up to the hype, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Although there was one
Definitely.
thing, there was no bowfin.
Nope. Nope. As you may have heard last week, the hunt for the mystical bowfin, which to hear the conclusion of, you're going to have to go back and give that one a listen if you're just tuning in. But yeah, we attempted to find some bowfin in that magnificent tank of theirs, and there was no such thing.
And the water was actually really, really cool as far as like the tank goes with how it spread all over the pyramid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there were
true.
several tanks. It's not just like the standard Bass Pro Shop. There was I don't even know what, 7 tanks
Yeah, rivers and ponds with bridges.
with ducks just chilling inside the pyramid.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they
Domesticated ducks.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. It's definitely an experience. Probably the best thing about that entire city.
Oh yeah,
Oh, for sure.
for sure. One would say that Graceland used to be that, but now it's just kind of graffitied up and bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's definitely not what it used to be.
Also, there was a alligator exhibit at
Oh
the
yeah,
Bass Pro Pyramid. Forgot about that.
that is true.
Yeah.
There
There
were a
was
bunch of alligators.
big old sign saying "Do not throw change into the alligator pit," and then we looked down several. I mean, must have been hundreds of coins at the bottom of the water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Classic case of tell people not to do something, and then
they proceed to do it.
So yeah, that was probably the best part of Memphis, and the worst part was the McDonald's that we probably got food poisoning from.
Well, before we went to the McDonald's, we got hungry, so we tried looking around for food, and we're on Google like looking for what there is to eat, and nothing sounds like good. There's this place called Dixie Queen. We're like, oh, it's like Dairy Queen, and Dairy Queen we're quite fond of. Tune into our first episode to hear our take on that.
Oh
This
yeah,
is just plug central.
But
Yep.
so we're like, oh, Dixie Queen, it's probably the same thing. So we drive over there. It's kind of in a sketchy part of town. It's right around a corner, near a light. And as we pull up to it, there's like 3 cops with their lights on in the parking lot of Dixie Queen. So we're not going to Dixie Queen.
No Dixie
Not
Queen,
only were there 3 cops in the parking lot of Dixie Queen, but there was also a couple cops in the intersection that we were at because there was an accident
Oh yeah.
at that specific intersection.
There was also
And
a
then-
homeless man driving like an e-scooter in the roadway at that intersection.
God
Yep.
Almighty!
Let's
Yeah.
not forget
Yes.
that.
Lots of glass paper bags and broken bottles in his little e-scooter shopping cart
Oh, yeah.
deal.
Oh yeah, he was living it
Definitely,
up.
that was definitely a lock your doors situation
Mhm.
if there ever was one.
We decided, just to play it safe, we'll go to McDonald's because you go to McDonald's anywhere in the world, it's basically the same.
Yeah, I think that we all had a similar experience with the. I mean, we all ordered our normal. I mean, Ozzy ordered a filet-o-fish.
Of course.
Much to our disappointment, and then had to roast the man every time.
I got a Big Mac as usual with the fries.
Yeah, it's a classic meal. You can't go wrong
Yeah.
with a Big Mac, honestly.
Except
I get it.
I did go wrong with it.
You thought you were gonna have a normal experience at a McDonald's. You were wrong.
What happened at the McDonald's?
Well, the burger was loaded down with the sauce so much that I couldn't taste anything but the sauce. And the fries were both cold and warm and hard and soft.
All in the same
So-
bag.
All in the same bag, same fries. So, yeah, that was probably the worst fast food I've ever had.
It was
Not-
like they took both of our fries that we got and then filled them up halfway and then ran out of fries and then started a new batch and just left those sitting there while the other batch was like in the process of being made.
I'd say they put them in the fridge while they waited.
Yeah, honestly, they were ice cold. Like they didn't even fry them.
Well, then
They just waited for them to thaw out.
after I made my order, I'm like standing there at the counter, and the dude forgets to give me a cup. So I'm just standing there, and like all the kitchen staff is just ignoring. There's like a line of people up there with like their tickets in their hands, like waiting to complain, and they're just ignoring all of us. And I'm like trying to get their attention, like, "Hey, dude, I need my cup," and they just look at you and they'll walk by. So I walk around the freaking counter and pull a cup out from the like stack myself.
Where's my drink?
My drink? My diet, Dr. Kelp?
This is a bit of a first world problem situation, but
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
But this is one of the more interesting experiences I've never had.
I mean, it's
experience at
McDonald's.
Yes.
You expect it to be bare minimum, and when you don't get that, it's like, come on, something's not right. Everything you have is compared to it, so it needs to be standardized.
Find out more about
Yeah.
that opinion on our episode 1 of the podcast.
This is true.
Third plug.
All right, so after the Schmackdonald's, what took place?
there was some in between there, but we were just killing time.
Yeah, the next day we woke up and took off towards Nashville, which is like 3 hours away or something like that. Which, It's kind of far depending on where you're from, but not that far
E-
if you're used to driving a lot.
Easy drive for us.
Yeah, it went by pretty quick to be honest, at least the way there.
And this is where the
Yep.
idea of the podcast came from, actually.
Yeah, I think we were driving along, and I think Cam had mentioned something.
hmm The conception of, at that time, unnamed podcast, we just started making lists of stuff, and then I had seen on another podcast I had listened to, these three guys had just made a list of chairs and then debated, just kind of put them through the gauntlet to see what was the best chair, which we might have to revise at some point. I think that we can kind of just leave that one to die and then do other lists that are a tad bit more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we did that, and it was kind of fun, to be honest. I was very confused as to why I was picking chairs, but
Yeah, because we
the
weren't
payoff
told.
was there.
Yeah, we weren't told we're going to be rating chairs. He said, each one of us needs to name, 6 chairs or something like that. And we had to go in
There-
order. And he was very cryptic about it, so none of us knew what was going on until he said, I'm going to put them in a rating system now. We have to debate which chair is the best.
There was very little information given, no context, just rate chairs.
But it was fun. I did like that. I like the idea.
That was that. We got into Nashville, and I think we just headed straight for the Parthenon, right?
Yeah, that was the first thing we did. Nashville Parthenon. Apparently, they have a 1-to-1 replica of the Greek Parthenon. Who knew?
Much to my surprise.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nashville, apparently the Athens of the South, is what it was known as for a while because they had the most amount of universities out of all the southern states. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
Parthenon was built during a sort of a World's Fair event. I don't think it was a World's Fair, but it was pretty similar.
Yeah, something like that. It's made of like concrete, obviously, so it's not like carved marble or anything, but it's not terribly done.
No, it's very impressive.
I mean, it doesn't
makes
look
you-
fake or cheap. It looks legit.
Yeah.
It definitely is a very, I would say, different contrast, like in seeing how something would be built in sort of modern times versus the something that was built over 2,000 years prior.
Right. Going inside was interesting because the way you enter, like, you can't enter on the top floor. You have to enter from, like, the basement. So going in from the basement, you have to, like, come up from underneath, and there's, like, an art exhibit there.
First art exhibit. We're expecting a lot, and then we're quite disappointed, actually.
Yeah, the inside signs were like, oh, there's an art exhibit from this female artist who's, like, doing her take on the Odyssey. It's like, oh, that's cool.
We don't
Yeah.
need a modern perspective of the Odyssey.
Definitely something that probably should be left alone.
Yeah. So there was like paper mache bowls, macaroni art, construction paper cyclopses, all of that.
This is the Athens of the South, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, preschool level arts and crafts project on the walls.
Ozai made of noodles up on the wall.
Yeah, as
It brings
Matt,
me to another tangent, is that modern art is just a money laundering scam.
you can't honestly make me believe that this piece of dog crap is worth, $2.4 million.
Somebody was walking over their canvas where they were going to paint a landscape and spilt their bucket of paint on the landscape portrait,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Here's
sold it
one.
for $3 million.
Here's 2 art exhibits that I witnessed myself in the Dallas Museum of Art. It was 2 shit stains on a wall. This
Yep.
is real. This is not a joke. 2 shit stains on a wall and a red blinking light that blinked like between them. And the other one was a pile of sand that was about 50 feet long, and there was just glass panes shoved through it.
This is
Art.
art, everybody.
Do they like move that exhibit?
It's
'Cause
about
if you move it, it's not the same art piece.
it's about the emotions it brings you.
There were exhibits on, the history of the World's Fair or the giant fair that they had, which was very, very interesting with all the
Mhm.
artifacts that they had, old money, different kinds of lots of silver, which is just, not impossible to get to, but there's a lot of silver to just be out and open to the public.
Right.
Yeah, and there were some very beautiful paintings that lined the hallways of the place. And then we got to see the statue of Athena as well.
Yep, I think it was something like 55 feet tall, something like that.
Yeah.
She was holding a Nike
Yeah.
god in her hand, and that was 6'6", and that was in the palm of her hand. So
If
I
you
think
ever look up if you ever look up pictures and then see the small god that she's holding in her hand, it just kind of puts you into perspective once you know that that little thing in her hand is 6'6".
yeah,
I
yeah,
think the most impressive thing about it, well, that I liked the most was the shield, and I didn't even notice it at first, to be honest.
yeah. There's a lot of really cool like intricacies on the inside of the shield and the outside of the shield.
And the massive doors on the Parthenon itself.
Oh yeah,
Uh, there's a little part where you can actually like manipulate the doors and open one of them, and it's insanely heavy, but it's crafted like perfectly because you can still move it on your own.
yeah. I think
How
it
much
was
do you?
like 3 tons or something. They said
Yeah,
it was like a solid.
No,
It was like
I think it was like 7 or 8 tons if I remember correctly.
yeah, it was like a
It was
solid bronze door, like 2.5 feet thick and 15, 25 feet tall, 10 feet wide each door. But it was perfectly balanced to where you could like still open or shut it.
with not very much effort at all.
yeah.
There's like a park around the outside of it with a lake, and as we were wandering around it, just walking, there was this tree that had this little fruit. I don't even know what kind of fruit it was, or what tree it was, to be honest.
It was like every tree had those fruits though, and it
Yeah,
wasn't
but it
just
was like
like
different trees.
yeah, it was different trees. It was like a weeping willow would have that fruit growing on it, and then we'd find like some kind of oak or ash tree that would also have that fruit on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was weird. It was like lumpy, but kind of like a pineapple or like a dragon fruit, but small. It was weird. And then you cut it open, and it didn't. It smelled like pine almost.
It smelled like menthol cigarettes, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I mean, it had like a weird kind of minty, piney sort of smell to it.
If anybody is listening to this and knows what those fruit are, because we did a little bit of research but couldn't find like a conclusive answer to them,
Yeah,
please let us know.
some sort of
yeah.
seed
I looked
pod.
it up, and it said like magnolia tree, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. We found one on a magnolia tree, but it was also like on trees it shouldn't have been on. We might have been tripping. I don't know.
No, it was definitely like maybe it was like a grafting experiment because usually like the fruit of a tree also double as the seeds of a tree.
Right.
And
Right.
it wouldn't make sense for different types of trees to have the same seed.
From there, we headed off to.
I think that we went to the Grand Ole Opry first, and then we went to
Yeah,
Johnny
I think you're
Cash's
right.
grave.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the Opry was interesting.
Yeah,
We didn't get there early enough to actually go inside the Opry because we spent a lot of the time at the Parthenon, and the drive to and fro was. I think it was. I don't think it was too far. I think it was like an
it
8-minute
was
drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't too far.
It wasn't too far. It's just they stopped doing tours at a certain time. So to get in, you had to like buy a ticket to see the show, which is got some garbage pop country singer that nobody's heard of.
Yeah, I was quite disappointed when we got into the Opry House. Like,
Mhm.
there was no Johnny Cash, there was no David Allan Coe, there was like nothing good. It was just all these new head
yeah,
singers.
and I mean there wasn't like Willie or Waylon. I mean literally
Yeah,
any of like the classic country guys that like made country music what it is, like Hank Williams Jr. Yeah, like none of these people that made country music in like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. It's just
or
like
even Hank Williams Sr., who's like one of
the
the
legend.
fathers of country.
Yeah,
yeah.
there was
wasn't even like Toby Keith,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, Tim McGraw. It was just
Yeah.
like new heads, not even like the mid 2000s, early teens. It was like 2020s and newer.
Yeah, I was quite sad.
And then in the gift shop, there was literally Johnny Cash's name was on like one item.
A
Yeah.
magnet.
It was like a magnet.
It said like cash me in or something like that. I forget what it
It's
was.
something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Did pick up some pretty sweet merch though.
Oh yeah, they had some cool
That-
merch.
What was that, like 90s, 80s vaporwave?
Yeah, you got that late 80s like sort of pink and neon blue
Yeah,
look
tank
to
top.
it, tank, and then I got that Grand Ole Opry koozie, which is my new beer koozie for out in the lawnmower.
Yeah,
I got a metal cup that I use for that I also use for beer.
There you go.
Ironically.
Yep. I mean, even the whole outlaw country section of the gift shop, which had like biker quote unquote like type people looking stuff, not a
Yeah.
single outlaw country singer that I've ever heard of was in that section.
Yeah.
It was just straight up like embarrassing, to be honest.
We should say too that we three are pretty we're pretty old head as far as country music goes. Like we like our Waylon Jennings, and I mean we could skip Willie Nelson, but you know like
He's
the
notable
high
though. Like they didn't have anybody.
Yeah, it's just the foundations of country singers weren't represented, I felt like. And then I guess like it's more of a country music concert stage for like new up and coming people now rather than like something that respects like the older generations.
Yeah, it's more of like it's definitely more of like a launch point than it was as like the
Museum.
landmark. Yeah, it was more like the way that I always heard about it in songs from like David Allan Coe or Johnny Cash or something like that. That was like the landmark place that they loved to play at, or that you had to play at to be considered a country artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that wasn't the original Opry House, I don't think.
No, it's inside that building.
They just built a bigger building around it.
So the original Opry House is inside that, and then they built like that big auditorium stadium thing around it. We decided we didn't get enough cash there, so we looked up where he was buried and pulled it up on Google Maps. It was right down the road.
10-minute drive. Yeah.
So we head down there, and in like Google Maps takes us to like this random
funeral home, I think.
Yeah, it was just a random.
No, that's not even what it was.
Yeah, it was like a car detailing shop, or like they did
that's
car stereos or something. And the graveyard was like behind it, so we just parked there and walked through there like bushes. But there's not even like a section, like signage sections, nothing like no fanfare. It was just we walked around until we saw like a spot that had a bunch of stuff, and it's like, oh, this is Johnny and his wife. There was like a bench on the sidewalk next to their tombstones, which they're buried next to each other, and yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the tombstones, like coins and whatnot, and money left, and
two Norwegian flags.
Yeah, 2 Norwegian flags for some reason. If anybody can fill us in on the Norwegian connection with cash, that'd be great. But yeah, that was it. There was no big shining memorial statues, nothing. They were just quite humble, I suppose.
They were at the very top of the hill, to be fair.
Yeah, but like it wasn't at like some back secluded nicer area. It was just the middle of it basically. But it wasn't the crest of the hill. It wasn't disappointing. It was just not what I was expecting.
No, it was,
not me either. For like, I would say considering who you depends on who you ask, but I think that he's one of the best country artists that there's ever been.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely,
I don't think anybody can like argue that point that he's one of the landmark country artists.
Yeah, obviously.
Of the genre.
After the graveyard visit, we went to what was next? The game store.
Yeah, I think we stopped by a local game store there. I got a book, the Horace Heresy novel, pretty good one.
For those that don't know, because I don't think we mentioned it before, we are all into Warhammer 40,000. So normally whenever we go on these kinds of guide trips, we like to find the local game store scenes around there. They vary wildly from their different kinds of quality.
But anyways, we did stop by that game store. I got a novel. I think, Cam, what did you pick up there?
I bought the second book in the Plague Wars trilogy. That's which I haven't gotten to yet, but the first book's real good. Definitely would recommend for any Warhammer fans out there.
Must have.
Any Imperium enjoyers and Chaos haters, at least.
That's fair.
Then we stopped to a place next door and played some pool. That was my first pool game.
Oh yeah. Pool at the
can't forget about that.
Pool at the I don't even know what you call it. Bowling alley from the wrong side of town.
Yes.
You walked in and it was just the first thing that hits you is the super loud Spotify, SoundCloud trap music, bass boosted, And then the second thing that hits you is like all the walls and ceiling tiles are 40 years old and like falling out.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. They were all like cheap plywood that you would put over drywall in a double wide or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's exactly what it was. Holy crap.
Yes.
But we decided we were going to give the pool tables a shot, so yeah, we played a couple games. It was pretty fun, actually. I love pool.
Yeah, that was really fun.
I'm a big fan myself. I had to do the classic Cam move of anytime I play any sort of competition, it's y'all are about to get your asses kicked or some variation of the phrase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I blundered into a dub, though, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing about pool is, like, if your opponent messes up and either, sinks the 8 or sinks their cue on the 8, it's just, it's donezo for them.
Yeah.
If you ever come across me and I start off really good, but we like to talk crap about how bad I am at pool, it's don't think that I'm hustling you, because I will 9 times out of 10 sink the cue ball when I'm on the 8-ball shot, or I will do the opposite and sink the 8 ball in my like 3rd or 4th shot.
Yeah, it does tend to happen.
So after that experience, we decided we wanted to try the ever-famous Nashville hot chicken.
Local specialty, Nashville hot chicken.
I've had Nashville hot chicken. I've had Nashville hot chicken in other places, but we figured while we're in Nashville, we should have the Nashville hot chicken.
When in Rome.
Exactly.
And then it was an experience from top to bottom. We got in there. It was a short wait.
It wasn't the very like the place that everybody says to go to get the best Nashville hot chicken. We just of picked from a few places, because the one place that everybody says to go to,
Gus's,
had a line. Yeah, Gus's, which that deserves a shout out.
Gus's is legendary, but they had a line like out the door times 2, so we didn't. We didn't even try to stop there. We go to this place and it's like those new. Every restaurant nowadays is like the same on the inside, where they've got like a chalkboard and they've got those Edison bulbs hanging down.
Local BBQ type beat.
It looks like a hipster is the one managing it, and it probably is.
But I mean, it was good.
Yeah, I mean the atmosphere was fine. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But we sat for a bit, waited for a table. We got a table.
I know you're forgetting about the most important part, where they were, where it was a bar like almost seemingly dedicated to Liverpool FC or something like that.
That is true. Yeah. It was a Liverpool, as in Liverpool, England football club, like themed bar at this Nashville hot chicken place.
Yeah,
which is so out of place. It doesn't make any sense.
The whole upstairs like reserve. It was like this area is reserved for Liverpool fans only.
Yeah.
Come on, England, score some fucking goals.
We got the menus, and I know my limits, so I got like the medium spice chicken sandwich. It was like on garlic bread or some crap. I don't know. It was really good though.
Well, yeah. So you get the menu, and then at the bottom, it's like telling you got the 1 to 5 hot scale, right? And hot was like the number 4. So I'm like, well, I'm getting Nashville hot chicken. I'm gonna get the hot.
That was my rationale as well, which nobody listening knows this, but my 2 friends here definitely know this and definitely warned me about my decision to go with the hot chicken, because I would consider myself. I'm very self-aware with the amount of spice or lack thereof that I'm able to handle.
Yeah, I was gonna say my tolerance for. I did too when he ordered it. I'm like, he's surely gonna say, "Nah, I'm screwing with you. Give me the mild," because your tolerance for spiciness is like bare minimum.
There is no tolerance.
He doesn't go to Mexican restaurants because the queso's too hot.
I wish I could argue against that point, but I did catch a rather spicy jalapeno seed in a queso blanco one time, and had to damn near be airlifted out of the place.
Bruh.
So we wait around for our food, and like all of a sudden,
here comes the best part.
Yeah, all of a sudden, this little like robot starts going down the hall, and it's got 2 trays of food in its hands. And I'm talking like a robot like Rob from Smash. You know what I'm talking about. He's got treads, and he's got a square head. It's Wally.
Like Wally just rolled out of the factory.
Yes. Yeah. And
he's surreal.
The robot goes to the table next to us and stops and is saying like, "Here's your food." which no one's sitting at the table next to us. It's just an empty table. And, like, the hostesses are looking around and looking at the food and us, and we're like, I think that's our food. And they're like, oh, they must have put in the wrong table number.
And then they came to us and were like, yeah, this happens all the time. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, they hired you guys to be waitresses. Why complicate things?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
The
and this is a
30-foot walk
regular-
from the kitchen to the table.
Yeah.
This is a job that needs a robot. It needs to be automated.
So we get our food, and I mean, it looks really good. Like, just
Yeah.
I don't know how
I mean, it was good.
Yeah, we take our first
Results
munch.
may vary.
We take our first munch down, and I think I just got like a sandwich, hot chicken sandwich.
Chicken sandwich.
There was a burst of flavor, and then it kind of started to heat up, but it was manageable for me.
That's the cayenne. It tricks you.
It's all cayenne. So at the first couple bites, I'm like, this is hot, but I can manage it.
Since I got like the step below y'all,
Yeah.
I was fine. Like I was taking breaks. I was, catching my wind
Yeah.
going in for
Pacing
that
yourself.
sandwich. Yeah, and it was fine.
Chasing the spice instead of chasing the buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, mine was hot, and I was sweating, I'll be honest, but it wasn't so hot that I was like uncomfortable until the very, very end, and then I was like, man, that was too much. But almost the whole sandwich, I was like, it's hot, but it's doable.
We'll just preface this with I was feeling a bit bold that night. I have been kind of building up a bit of a spice tolerance because, contrary to my lack of a tolerance for spice, I do love and enjoy the taste of spicy food. I don't know what it is. It's something that God definitely cursed me with. But I go in and I'm like, you know what? I'm of the same mind as Ozzy over here. I definitely want to experience the Nashville hot because we're in Nashville. So, when in Rome, like he said. And I got a piece of Texas toast, which, kind of can't go wrong with the Texas toast. And it came with 2 beignets and a side of fries as well, which I also had never had a beignet. Which
That looked good. I should have got that.
Honestly.
It was they saved my life, to be honest. I might not have walked out of that restaurant that night had I not had the beignets to state the flames that were in my mouth.
I thought we were gonna have to call an ambulance. To be honest, there was like sweat dripping off of you. You were like,
it was coming out of his ears.
yeah.
It was not a fun experience. I felt a little bold. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd been building up a spice tolerance to where like I've been going to some Mexican restaurants or trying different kinds of hot sauces on my food and definitely building up a bit of a tolerance compared to my youth where McDonald's Sprite was a little too spicy for a young Cam.
Why is it spicy?
But this kicked my ass from top to bottom, let me tell you. I took a bite and it was pretty much the exact same reaction as Ozzy. I was like, okay, that's a little hot, but it's definitely manageable. And then I kind of let the bite stew for a minute because I tried a couple fries, which are also soaked in the sauce, and it was and they were not liberal with this sauce. They
were liberal.
You think? I definitely, because my piece of Texas toast was like soaked in this stuff.
You used it wrong. He was saying they were to be conservative is to hold back.
Oh, you're right. They definitely
soaked it.
They definitely weren't conservative with the sauce. They weren't goated with the sauce either. They definitely were quite liberal with the sauce. My piece of Texas toast was no longer toast. It was a piece of, if you've ever let a piece of bread soak in some soup before, that's quite how the consistency of the Texas toast was.
When you dip an Oreo in the milk and you leave it too long and no Oreo comes out.
Yes.
So
the fries that I had were also soaked in it. It started to heat up right after the second bite, and I was like, oh man, this might be too much. But I had already started. I committed to paying for the meal.
I was impressed.
Well, speaking of paying for the meal, imagine you're getting a piece of fried chicken on a piece of bread with some fries. $17.
I think mine totaled out to be like $18.96.
Yeah, it was quite. I mean, and we didn't even get like drinks. We just got water because I'm like,
Yeah.
holy. I mean, I don't mind spending that much on dinner, but if it wasn't a sandwich and fries, like if I'm spending that much, I'm going to like a steakhouse or not even a steakhouse, like Japanese, something good.
You can get a decent 8-ounce ribeye at freaking any kind of chain
Yeah.
steakhouse for
Yeah.
that amount of money.
That's what hit me was the hipster aesthetics plus the hipster price tags as well.
Yeah, so I would eat Nashville hot chicken again, save for one reason, and that is just the nature of cayenne.
Yeah. Yeah, cayenne pepper.
Sneaky pepper.
It's hot all the way through your body.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel it going through your throat, you can feel it hit your intestine, and you can feel it leaving your intestines.
Most definitely. It is very good at like protecting itself from your stomach acid. So, yeah, as you said, on the way out, you feel that the entire time.
Those beignets that I had, which were fried dough with lots of powdered sugar on them, which also got a little bit of sauce on them, which I was not expecting while I was using them to state the heat a little bit. They saved my life for sure. Shout out to whoever made those beignets because you saved a man's life that night.
You kept him from passing into the next realm. Honestly, I'm going to have to go down if I get him again to the level that Matt got there.
We're definitely going to Gus's if we ever return to Tennessee, or if we ever pass through there again on our way farther north.
Yeah, for sure. The issue with it didn't actually become an issue, but there is one bathroom and there's it's a hotel suite, so there's room for all three of us to stay there, but there's one bathroom, so you do the math.
3 Nashville hot chickens.
Yeah.
In the bellies.
Do the math.
Was not a good situation.
We had to get drunk that night to state the pain a little bit.
That is true. I didn't feel it until about 1 a.m, and then until about 7 the next morning, and then mine kind of subsided. Cam's, on the other hand, I think lasted a little bit longer.
Lasted pretty much the rest of the trip because we had to, on our way back, we stopped multiple times so that I could use whatever.
I think we kind of like 8.
Yeah, I think there was 8 pit stops for emergency exits of Nashville hot chicken.
It was so bad.
I don't blame you.
It wouldn't have been so bad if the chicken hadn't, like, if the spice and whatever pepper it was, I think it was the habanero, just didn't taste awful.
The whole thing wouldn't have been so bad if the McDonald's didn't completely fuck up my stomach.
Yeah, I think most of our stomach problems did come from that McDonald's the first day, and it just manifested then.
I woke up the morning before Nashville hot chicken with a stomach ache, and I thought I was going to have to go home because it was so bad. And then, it worked itself out. Here and there, I had stomach problems again.
Yeah.
But,
It was definitely a compounding thing when it came to my stomach biome and the 8 pit stops that we had to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some pretty sketchy joints at times.
I almost want to shout out the place just so I could tell people not to go there.
Yeah, I don't even remember not even the wing. I don't even know.
It was not even like that creative.
Oh, no, it was Party Foul.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Party Foul, like bird
If you're
foul.
in Nashville and you value our opinion or my
have
opinion
a death wish.
all, don't go to Party Foul.
If you got $20 to spend on a chicken sandwich, go there. If not, or you'd rather spend that $20 on something else, don't. That's all I got to say. But I think after the morning after the hot chicken, I mean, we kind of moseyed our way back home, and we did declare another pit stop in Oklahoma as well.
The Heaven of Runestone. We had to stop there.
Yeah, we'd been there. Matt and I had been there before, which that's a story for another time. You'll have to tune in to a future episode for that. But if you're not aware of what the Heaven of Runestone is, in very, very short description here, it's basically a rock that has some Elder Futhark, like Nordic Viking runes on it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Which what they say, what they translate to is argued, which, we'll get to all that in a later date. All you need to know is that it's a pretty cool site on the top of this, like, mountain.
Yeah,
and
it was very interesting. We had to stop to show camera.
There was one more stop that we did forget about on our way back from Nashville to our hotel.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I think that was one of the highlights of the whole trip, to be honest, was the legendary Punjabi Dhaba.
How could we forget that? The Punjabi Dhaba.
And this isn't us being racist or anything. This is the and I quote, name of the establishment.
Yeah, it was Punjabi Dhaba. We needed gas. We were coming in on fumes. Not really on fumes, but we were getting low. And we were out in the middle of nowhere and off the interstate. We pull into this gas station, and it's like a truck stop gas station thing. And yeah, like you said, Punjabi Dhaba. It's like, okay, it's probably owned by some Indian dude. So I'm getting fuel. They go inside.
Well, it was like a combination of somebody's house, a diner, a proper restaurant, and a gas station.
All of those mixed into one, and it was the size of a supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was huge for no reason at all.
There was also a second floor to it.
Yes, which was like a second floor to the restaurant, and it looked like we passed through this place at probably like 2 a.m. So
yeah, it was definitely after midnight.
It looked haunted.
It was a 24 hours. Yes, it did look haunted. It was definitely one of those. It honestly might have closed down before the pandemic, but it was it looked like it had been a casualty to like small highway side business that had been a casualty to the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looked deserted enough to make me think that it's been closed down for a lot longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
I felt like everything was coated in like a thin veneer of dust. And so
It was strange.
they had like all sorts of accoutrements. They had cowboy hats. They had boots. They had like
They were appealing to all types.
Yeah, they had work boots there, like in different sizes and boxes. And
Bedazzled work boots.
All sorts of oddities. And then they had this blanket set. The blankets themselves were, they had about 200 rebel flags, little Confederate flags all over them, which were in Tennessee.
All over.
I mean, you expect to see that in Tennessee.
Yes.
But it was like, why is the Indian gas station man selling a rebel flag bed sheet set with pillowcases and duvet covers?
There was like a throw blanket.
Yes,
CSA,
there was a throw blanket.
A really big flag.
Blanket. There were multiple CSA hats, and then I think there were like CSA leggings in the female clothing section.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we forgot to mention is that there was a whole was like before you get to the freezers where all the drinks are and the coolers, there is like a Marshall's dress for less like section of the Punjabi Dhaba.
Yes. Yeah, it was very, very odd.
And the whole time, none of us had any cell signal. And it's not like this place had a metal roof or something where it would.
That's a good point.
The place didn't have a metal roof to where you would think you would have a lack of cell signal. It was just like as normal as a giant outlet mall.
Punjabi Dhaba
can be, but none of us had cell signal while we were in there. It's like we were taken from the vision of God or something like that. Like he couldn't see us while we were in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about that place.
I just looked up Punjabi Dhaba just because I was curious.
No way.
There is apparently a restaurant in Dallas called Punjabi Dhaba.
Oh God, it's traveling. It's a teleporting restaurant.
I think it is, to be honest.
I'm not.
What does it look like?
It's just Indian food. Wait a second. Why does this look like the gas station that we went to?
Oh no!
I believe it. Hold up. Send me the picture.
No, it's different. It's different.
Okay.
It scared me for a second.
Honestly, boys, that we've come across we were the first discoverers of a cryptid. This, in full disclaimer, this is most definitely just some random Indian dude who owns a gas station out in the middle of nowhere in between Nashville and West Memphis. Okay, but it was okay.
Here's the thing about Punjabi Dhaba. This one is like a giant metal building with a food truck on the inside, and then that 18-wheeler that says Punjabi Dhabi.
Oh my God!
It looks like a refugee UN camp.
That's so cursed.
It's just, it doesn't even look. Yeah, something about this restaurant ain't right.
Something about people naming things Punjabi Dhaba has some kind of.
Here's the one that we stopped at. It's right in the middle of Tennessee.
No way! You found it on Google?
Yes.
Oh my God! To make a long story short, if you are driving and come across a place in the middle of your trip called Punjabi Dhabi, you would do yourself a favor to steer clear.
Yeah.
Or
No, you got to stop there.
Or you could
stop there.
Or you could stop there and be cryptid hunters like the three of us.
Yeah. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Give us your Punjabi Daba experience.
If you've got a Punjabi
somebody has
Daba
been-
experience,
I want somebody who's been to the one we went to.
Yeah.
we gotta have a.
We need to
gotta
have them
like
on.
We need to
Yes.
have them on as a guest, or we need to have like some kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but those who are like survivors meeting of the Punjabi Daba.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think that about wraps up the Tennessee trip as a whole. You know, lots of fun times, lots of interesting sights for sure that I definitely would go back to at least Nashville for. I don't know about Memphis. I would pass through Memphis and stop by the Bass Pro Pyramid, but I don't know if I will ever stay in Memphis, Tennessee again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I wasn't going to the pyramid, I would actively avoid Memphis, Tennessee. And I encourage anybody else to avoid it.
Oh, get this. So one of my students, over the 3-day weekend, he went to Memphis as well.
Oh no.
I didn't tell him that I'd gone there, but I was like, so what'd you think about Memphis or whatever? And he was like, I almost got robbed at a gas station.
Yeah.
No.
He went to go take a piss, and this like big dude came up behind him while he was pissing and was like asking him questions about like, where are you from? And like trying to see if he was like a local or if he was like a tourist basically. And he just kind of ignored him, and then when he got done, he like spun around and was like, can you just leave me alone, man? And like walked out. And he said that like as he was walking out, another guy was like coming in and like tried to like block him from leaving, so he like dipped under his arm and sprinted out the door and like jumped back in his car and drove off.
God almighty.
Like they were gonna try to stop him up in the bathroom and rob him or what, or worse.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
He's like, it was the gas station right across the street from Graceland.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I read an article today about a woman who got kidnapped and killed in Memphis while she was
God.
just jogging. It was like a rich lady.
I don't know about jogging in the city of Memphis
That's
alone.
what I said. I was like, I mean,
I
I'm
don't
not like
and is
victim blaming.
Is that AT&T server building in Memphis as well?
No, that's Nashville.
That's in Nashville.
Oh, okay. That thing is an affront to the
God,
Lord
yeah.
Almighty.
Yeah, the Batman evil villain.
Yes, it looks like Dr. Evil's headquarters.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
rough. I think that wraps it up for us, ladies and gents. So if you enjoyed, make sure that you at least share it with somebody, because, you know, that's kind of our main
That
goal.
helps.
Is to get some people to listen to our fun stories and cryptid hunting adventures.
And we have plenty of those.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
That's kind of one of our favorite things to be out there doing. So yeah, I think that wraps it up for us, everybody. I guess that we'll see you next time then.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Bye
Thanks
for
for
now.
listening, guys.